Greetings, everyone. Good afternoon. We are here for another speaker spotlight for the Gathering of Women. I'm a Badass and I'm Only Human Women's Retreat. My name is Carla Harris. I am the retreat founder and host, and it gives me great pleasure to have another conversation with badass extraordinaire Carol Boston. Today, we are spotlighting our speaker, Carol Boston, who is the Queen of Reframe. And I'm super excited to talk with her. So we're going to bring her in just a second. Carol is, excuse me, an ex-collegiate and professional tennis player. She also has had a highly successful 26-year career as a sales expert for Fortune 100 companies. Carol's gift is to empower women to rise up and become the lioness leaders they were created to be, multiplying their income and their profits. And I just want to say that she is also able to help them increase their badassery so that they can just embrace all that they have. So let's bring Carol Boston right to the stage. Hey, Carol.
Hey, Carla, how are you?
I am so excited. I'm doing really well. Let me just give a little bit of information about the retreat. So, what is the Gathering of Women retreat? It is an opportunity for women everywhere to be celebrated. Don't you love that, Carol? We are
Yes,
celebrating ourselves, right? We
yes.
do so much for others, and we take so much time to do what we have to do to make the world an even, calm place to live. But what happens when we don't take care of ourselves? And that's what this retreat is all about. So, Carol, I just want to have some really good conversation with you. First of all, what does it mean to be the queen of reframe?
Well, the short story is you can bring me any challenge, and I will quickly reframe it for you. In other words, give you a completely new perspective on it. And I will give you some empowering questions that you can ask around it to get the answers that you're truly looking for in that situation. Most of us don't realize that. Well, as a matter of fact, my next book is going to be called You Can't Read the Label When You're Inside the Jar. And we're all in a jar. But
Yeah.
the answers we're looking for are right outside of our jar. We just don't know how to ask the questions to bring the answers into our awareness. So when you're able to reframe something, not only can it change mindset, but then it changes the actions you take, it changes the behavior, and it can actually very quickly change the emotions that you have assigned to or have
Mhm.
tied to that particular situation.
So, when you think about empowering questions, give me an example. Give us an example of what that would look like.
Okay, so empowering questions, there's four caveats. They're specific, they're time bound, and the other two caveats are you are not to sit around and try to figure out the answer because it's outside of your jar. And it's super important, but very hard for people to do. You cannot be attached to the outcome. When we
Mhm.
decide what the outcome gets to be in advance, then we narrow our opportunities for choice, right? So what they do is they create limitless opportunities. So for example, you could ask yourself this every day in your business. What one thing, they're specific, that I'm not doing daily because they're time bound, that if I were
Mhm.
to do it would change everything. Or you can fill in the blank. What one thing that I'm not doing consistently, that if I were to do it would increase my revenues 100%.
Hmm. Okay. So it's very it's really narrowly focused on that one thing that you're trying to accomplish for that moment.
Yes, you want to set the intention. And when I work with my clients and we craft these around particular challenges, they commit to saying them out loud to God in the universe 6 to 8
Mhm.
times a day and going right back to what they're doing. But it's important that you set the intention first. I could give you a question, and maybe your intention is I want to use this in the area of my marriage or my relationship. And
Mhm.
someone else could take that same question, use it in the area of their business or use it in the area of their health. So it's really important that we focus on the intention. We all have goals, right?
Yeah.
My clients have big goals to grow their business, but I tell them, you don't own that goal. That goal is outside of you. What you do own is your intention, which sets the tone for your behavior every day. What intention are you setting every day so
Hmm.
that you can then do the things you get to do to move the needle forward?
Right, right. Yeah, interesting. So when we talk about women reframing their lives, what do you think? Or I guess the real question is, how can women reframe their lives to be the life that they more of what they want? Like, what do you think? So we have intentionality. I assume a level of authenticity is important.
Yes.
What are some of those other ways that we as women who do it all how do we do that?
Well, one of the things I say is that I help women know their value, own their power, and advocate for themselves. That's how they
Mm,
rise up and become the leaders they were truly created to be. I find that most of my clients don't know their true value. When we don't know our true value, when we diminish it, we do what? We tend to put other people above us.
mm-hmm.
According to who? According to what? Who decided that? Right?
Yeah.
And it's important that we own our power. So often women give up their power. If you blame something outside of you, oh, I'm just that way because that's how my parents raised me. You just gave up your power.
Mm,
Oh, it's the boss. It's the corporation. It's my husband. It's the weather. As soon as you take it outside of you, you give up your power. And when you give up your power, you're saying, I don't have a choice.
yeah.
But when you stand in your power, just like I may not be where I want to be in my business right now, but you know what? I am completely clear that I have created this situation. I am 100% responsible because I'm operating from level 4 responsibility. Level 1 responsibility says what? Everything happens to me. I'm a victim. I don't have a choice. And that's just not true. That's a choice that someone's making. So for women to know their value, I'm so glad they're coming to the retreat, right? We're going to talk about this. Know your value, own your power, and then it's really critical that you advocate for yourself, both inside and outside of corporate America, but especially in corporate America, I've seen where women will go, well, they should just know I want that promotion. Really?
Yeah.
How is that? Right? Or they should just look how hard I work. Nobody's recognizing me. Are you willing? It's the number one challenge for women in leadership, asking for what they want, advocating for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There was an
Yeah.
article in the Miami Herald, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago. I still have a copy of it. This lady was invited into this big corporation and was able to look at all of their books. Once she completed her research, she was able to sit down with the CEO, who happened to be an older white male. And she said to him, one of the things I really noticed is that you promote men more often than you promote women. He kind of sat back in his chair and he goes, yeah, that's right. And she leaned in and she goes, and I noticed you give them bigger raises than you give women. He sat back,
Mm.
did the same thing. Yeah, that's right. So you can imagine the hair was standing up on the back of her neck, right? And she's like, how come? And he calmly looked at her and said, because they ask.
Wow.
If we don't ask, the answer is always no.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned the retreat. Why tell me why it was important for you to be a part of this retreat?
So I'm going to ask you to reframe that question and ask me what inspired me.
What inspired you to be a part of this gathering of women retreat?
I love that you're bringing it together, and I want to be a part in helping raise up other women. One of my purposes in life is touching people's hearts for the restoration of hope. And I think
Mm,
so often women get so beaten down, they've lost their hope. They think this is just the way it is, or they go into a place of fear. If I change and start taking care of me, everybody's going to leave, or nobody's going to like me, or they're going to make fun of me. And that's where we get to learn that other people's judgments and opinions of us, they're not even about us. It's about them. So for me, it's an opportune time, and I love the fact that it's in person and it's local. I love
mhm.
connecting in person, so I get to stand with a great band of women to pour into other women because I believe a rising tide raises all ships.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So, Carol, I know just because I know you and you and I have had this conversation, and you are a woman of faith, as am I. And tell me why faith is such a big part of your life, and where do you think you would be without it?
Mm. In all transparency,
Hmm.
I probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here. We all go through stuff. I've been through some stuff. And if it were not for my faith, that would have been an option for me. It would
Yeah.
absolutely have been an option for me. So, one of the things about faith for me is that I get to trust in the process and just take the next step. I believe God only gave me a lamplight for my feet. It doesn't mean I have to like everything I go through. As a matter of
Hmm.
fact, I was listening to a song on the Message channel on Sirius Radio the other day, and the guy says one of the lines is, "This is certainly not the path I would have chosen, but if it's where God has me, then I'll continue walking down this desert road." And there have been many times I feel like I'm on a desert road,
Hmm.
right? So, that came. I was raised up Methodist, always been a part of my life, but I think without it, I don't know how more candid I can be. I probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah, and woman to woman, faith believer to another, I agree with you 100%. I think that sometimes we just don't know how much we can bear without something as powerful as the support that we get from our spiritual growth and our spiritual beliefs and our prayer life. And in planning this retreat, we have a segment called the humanity of faith, because many people that I've spoken to, and I'm not sure if you feel the same, that they talk about, well, just because you have faith, you expect that, things will be better. Well, no, that's not the way it is. You just have to push through it. You have to push through it. You have to be able to hold on to something that you can't see and recognize still your own humanity, you
I
know?
believe, fear is to faith as weights are to muscles.
Mm,
If we weren't going through difficult times, we wouldn't need our faith and our faith wouldn't grow. We wouldn't have something to fall on. If we had all the answers, we wouldn't need faith. We wouldn't get to trust. And the fact that we can trust that there's something greater than us. Can you
mhm.
imagine if you looked around every day and go, "Oh my God, is this all there is?"
Oh my gosh, I know,
It,
right?
it, would- it would be horrible. So, I tell people, your fear and your faith are very similar.
Mm,
They both get you to believe in something you cannot see,
yeah.
and they get you to believe in something that hasn't happened yet. So your fear is really your faith that you've turned in the wrong direction. So you
What a
get an
great way to put it.
you get an opportunity, right? To
Yeah.
pivot and change directions. But once again, it comes down to what? Choice. There's
Hmm.
power in choice. And if there's
Hmm.
anything that I hope to pour into these women is that they make choices. You get to choose.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, talking about the retreat, what do you want women at this retreat to walk away with?
Inspiration, hope, empowerment, and tools. So one of the tools I'm bringing is empowering questions.
Hmm.
I mean, think about this. You're in a relationship, right? What if you got up every day and you said, what one thing am I not doing in this relationship that if I were to do it consistently, my husband would know exactly how much I love him?
Hmm.
Or perhaps, what one thing have I not said to my spouse that if I were to say it would truly embed in them how much I really love them? And you ask that, you're going to come, trust me, the God and the universe are going to bring you something you've never thought of because they create Oprah aha moments.
Hmm.
Another thing that I really want them to walk away with is the power of no. Because when you can own your no, your yes becomes so much more valuable.
Yeah.
And when you own your no, and you're able to set better boundaries comfortably, because why? You know your value, own your power, and you're now advocating for yourself, understanding that it doesn't diminish anybody else around you,
Hmm.
that you get to shine your light There's another song I was listening to the other day. I love music, lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, what if we were the light that no one could ignore?
Mm.
Can we create that at your retreat so that the women that walk out of there are the lights in their community, in their families, or in their businesses that nobody can ignore?
Yeah, yeah, that's powerful. And that's the whole purpose of this time, this gathering that we're putting together is to really, have women own who they are and not apologize for their authenticity, not apologize for their badassery, not apologize for the ability and the permission that they give themselves to say no.
Right.
We're doing, and as you know, you're on the panel of the panel, the art of no, how to say no without feeling guilty.
Mm-hmm.
um Recently I had to step down from a leadership position, and I had to do it for my own sanity. I had to do it for my own health. And even though I practice every single day, I coach people like you do on how, especially women, there was still that twinge of, you know what, I'll push through. I can do this. But I really had to sit down and say to myself and say to my family, I need to step down. And it was a very difficult decision. And I think that when we give ourselves that ability to do just that, we have to sometimes take a step backwards in order to take a step forward.
Absolutely. Sometimes you get to slow down, right?
Mm-hmm.
In order to speed up. And you know me, I'm all about we create as we speak, and I'm listening to your language. I'm so looking forward to pouring into these women how to come from the language of abundance and lack.
Yeah.
So, the coach pops up in me, and I want to encourage you that you didn't need to leave that position and you didn't have to. That comes from lack. I want you to come from a place of choice. I got to make a decision for me. I got
Mm-hmm.
to step down.
Yeah.
And when you can change that languaging, not only does it change your energy, it'll change the energy in the room,
Mm-hmm.
because now you're coming from a place of choice, not lack or necessity.
Yes.
You
Yes.
chose you. And that's one of the things we want to get the women at the retreat to learn how to
Oh
do.
my gosh. Yes. Yes. Choosing you is absolutely okay. It's
Yes.
absolutely okay. So let's shift gears for just a second and let's talk about resiliency, right? Because resiliency, um, we're going to end on the Saturday workshop sessions with a full group discussion on just our having a resilient spirit. So, how would you relate our ability to be resilient to having that fulfilled life that we want to have, that we need to have, and that we deserve to have?
For me, resiliency is tied into faith,
Mm,
right? So it's also tied into hope. It may look ugly, right? But there's always hope if you choose to believe that. I had my therapist say to me the other day, I have never met anybody so resilient. This happens and you decide, oh, I'm going to go try this. This happens. And she goes, I know people who would have said, I quit. I'm going to go be homeless. Right. She said, I do. I know those people. So I think faith is part of that. I remember being in therapy many, many, many years ago. And I took a CD, a Bon Jovi CD to therapy. And I handed it to my therapist and I said, listen to that song. That song is me. Right. And the song is Never Say Die.
mm,
Never say die, never say no. Look them in the eye and don't let go. When it's your own blood, your bleed, on and on it goes. It's a great, great song. Now, what's interesting is she said to me, she said, yes, but sometimes, Carol, this belief and this attitude causes you to stay in relationships and jobs far beyond what's good for you.
mm.
I was like, that was an eye opener for me,
Yeah.
that I was taking such a staunch stand. But we get to choose to get back up. Tomorrow is another day.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to leave yesterday as yesterday. I think so often people lose hope because they're dragging the past with them. You did the best you could yesterday with what you had. What do
Mm-hmm.
you get to do today based on something new that you can learn or do today? So for me, resiliency is really, it's definitely tied into faith and a belief. a belief that there's a good plan, even though I might be on a rocky road, the belief that the mountain has to have rough patches and crevices and stones in it, because otherwise we could never climb it, right? If the side of the mountain was smooth, we'd never climb it.
That's right.
Now, what we get to do is pray that we got somebody behind us pushing our butt up and somebody ahead of us who loves us enough to hold our hand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And hopefully that's what we can create at this retreat, having these other women know that we're here to hold your hand or to take a stand for you and push you forward to where you want to go.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So a few things, just some information about the retreat. So right now we are in the early bird registration. It ends December 31st. We are offering a code of 10% off if you use the code badass, because you are an absolute badass. And the retreat will take place March 15th through the 17th, 2024, at the phenomenal Pelican Grand Beach Resort on Fort Lauderdale's beach. It's the only only hotel right on the beach in Fort Lauderdale, and we're super excited about that. So I want to tell you folks, if you think that this is a conference where you're going to see lots of PowerPoints, the answer is absolute not. There are no PowerPoints. We are just a group coming together to empower, inspire, and lift up one another as women. So I really hope that you're able to be a part of this with us. So, Carol, what are your final words that you would like to leave our watchers, our viewers with? Let me move this. So tell us what you want our women coming to this retreat. What do you want to say to them directly?
The first thing I would say is it is good and wise to invest in you. So often women invest in their children, they invest in their spouses, they invest in everything but themselves, because you get to fill your cup first and give to all of those others from your overflow. I'm going to say, click the link, come join us. Don't give it a second thought, because he who hesitates is lost, right? And indecision will cost you more than a poor decision every day of the week. Make the decision that you're worth it, even if it's uncomfortable. And here's one thing I would share that I learned. This is back in end of 2017. And at that time, I had 2 coaching certifications. I had a few clients, and yet I was still holding on to 3 products and services to sell into corporate America, because I couldn't get out of my jar. And I didn't know how to separate my who from my do until I heard this. There's a big difference between committed and being convicted by something. You see, people decommit every day, don't they? They say, I am committed to this marriage for life, until the day I'm not.
Right.
But when you're convicted, you will not rest until you get it done. And you understand that your comfort and your convenience and your conviction don't live on the same block. They're not even on the same zip code. So burn the boats, burn the bridges, jump in, and let's create a 2024 that can be your dream year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It has been such a pleasure talking with you today. I always love our conversations because you are so real, Carol. I do. I love it. And I know that you and I, as entrepreneurs, as coaches, as lifters of people, sometimes that's, part of what we do, we take on. And, sometimes that's really great and sometimes it's not. But what I am so appreciative is your honesty and your authenticity. And I really just appreciate who you are. And I'm so honored to have you on the stage with all the other badass speakers that we have. So I'm definitely excited to have you there.
Me too. I can't wait. And it's an honor. Really, it's an honor to be considered to be a part of the team and to be able to pour into other women.
Absolutely. So thank you all for joining today. Thank you for your comments. I've seen your comments in the chat. So thank you so much for your comments. We featured Carol Boston, one of our dynamic badass speakers at our retreat that's taking place March 15th through 17th. 2024 at the Pelican Grand Beach Resort on Fort Lauderdale Beach. Currently, we are in our early bird registration phase, which ends December 31st, 2023. If you use code BADASS, you get 10% off of any registration types. So we have early bird, and we also have girls trip registration types where you can grab your girlfriend, make a weekend of it, and come on down to Fort Lauderdale. Again, Carol, we're giving permission. I hope I can speak for you when I say we are giving women permission to celebrate yourself everywhere. You absolutely deserve it. And we hope that you'll take the opportunity to do that and join us at the Gathering of Women. I'm a Badass and I'm Only Human Women's Retreat in March 2024. Thanks for joining us. Thank you again, Carol.
Thank you. And I just saw the comments. Thank you, John. And thank you, Catherine and Dewan, for joining us.
Absolutely. We appreciate all of you. So until next time, we will see you. Bye-bye.
Be blessed.